I got to get something off my chest with DJ Moore. Three major concerns and then a projection right now. First thing I'm worried about is obviously the opportunities for him in Chicago. Last year, this Bears team averaged 22.2 pass attempts per game, the lowest in the NFL by 2.2 attempts per game. That went to Atlanta. The Panthers last year, they were 29th at 26.9. So that might make you feel a little bit better because he was already on a low volume passing team last year, but were his numbers great last year? They were okay. He finishes a low end number 2 fantasy wide receiver. It wasn't exactly great, but you'd prefer your fantasy receivers to be on teams that go ahead and throw the ball 30 plus times per game. I don't think Chicago's going to do that. Concern number 2, Fields was either last or second to last among 31 qualifying quarterbacks. These are guys that threw the ball at least 275 times last year in overall completion rate and attempts per game. He was also third worst in off-target rate. 16% of his throws, not catchable, off target, bad throws. He was either first or second in interception rate too, both in and out of the red zone. There is a silver lining. He was actually first in red zone completion rate and touchdown rate. And I think it comes down to the Bears having well-designed plays in the red zone. This is a credit to offensive coordinator Luke Getsy. You go back and you watch these plays, and Justin Fields knew where to go with the ball every time. His first read was open, or he made a scramble play a few times, and things went well for Chicago in the red zone. He had 33 pass attempts in the red zone. 22 of them were completed. 12 of those 22 were touchdowns. Could you imagine if he actually threw more in the red zone and had more opportunities? The guy would be an absolute monster in fantasy. DJ Moore is going to get a lot of attention in the red zone. It might open up things for other players, and that's good for Justin Fields, but it's not necessarily great for DJ Moore. The other problem is that in those red zone plays last year, 16 of the 33 targets went to a running back or a tight end. Third problem is DJ Moore himself, who in fantasy hasn't finished as a top 12 wide receiver in PPR yet in his career. I know we want to rush him right up the draft board. We want to take him as a surefire stud. I think you got to pump the brake. Top 12, I don't think he can get there. He finished outside the top 24 in PPR points per game each of the last 3 years. And you can say, well, they had terrible quarterbacks in Carolina. Is Justin Fields an amazing passing quarterback? Ask the Bears coaching staff. They didn't trust him as much as we would have wanted them to trust him. So I don't know if this is necessarily a huge upgrade. Or Moore's catch rate has declined considerably since 2019. 1 out of every 2 throws that he was targeted in the red zone, he caught. So I've got a lot of concerns about DJ Moore being a big part of this Bears offense to the point where he's going to dominate. How can he help the Bears? I think the best bets are as follows. Number 1, he can get those intermediate area throws that are outside of the red zone. So you could see DJ Moore in a crosser, catching the ball, getting 13, 14, 15 yards and a first down for Chicago. Having that dependable, reliable route runner and a good route runner in DJ Moore, I think he can do that. Can he do it in the red zone as well, or even inside the 10? Hey, look, the Bears schemed up Justin Fields nicely last year. They could potentially do it again this year, but we're looking at DJ Moore coming off of a career high 7 touchdowns. Only 4 of them came in the red zone. The bottom line is that it's still a low volume passing offense. So I want to try and get a projection down here for everybody to kind of chew on when it comes to DJ Moore and to think about where he could be in the fantasy football wide receiver hierarchy. Are we talking about a 3rd round pick, maybe even higher? Are we talking about a 5th round pick or even lower? So here's the projection. And let's just start here. Let's put on those rose-colored glasses and say that the Bears are going to throw the ball 30 times a game. 30 times per game. High. That's a high number for Chicago. I'd be surprised if they threw that much. And Moore should have a high target share. Let's call it 25%. That's really high, by the way. Let's just say that they want to use DJ Moore. It makes sense. If they do that, we're talking about 7.5 targets per game for DJ Moore. Okay, that's not bad. Only 24 wide receivers last year averaged 7.5 targets per game. But even if he caught 60% of his targets, let's just say he caught 60%. He hasn't done that in 3 years. 60% of his targets, that's 77 catches. Only 7 wide receivers last year had 77 or fewer catches and still finished top 24 in PPR. So now it's getting a little bit harder. Let's be optimistic. Let's just say that he stays with that in 2023. That's 1,101 yard for DJ Moore. That's pretty good, but he's been better than that in 3 of his past 4 seasons. So I don't know if this is still an upgrade of a situation for him. Now we're going to throw in those touchdown concerns, and it's hard to see him exceeding what he did last year in Carolina, and that was 7 touchdowns, and that was a career high. But I'm going to give him those 7 touchdowns anyway. Does that make him a number 1 fantasy wide receiver? No, not unless your league has some weird scoring that we don't know about. That puts him at 229.1 because of the yard PPR points over the course of a season, assuming he doesn't get hurt. That's an average of almost exactly what Terry McLaurin had in 2022. It's a little bit all right. It's like right around 13.5 PPR points per game. That was wide receiver 23. And that's what I think DJ Moore is going to be this year. A low end number 2 wide receiver in the Chicago Bears offense who should put up good numbers. Should be a round 4 or 5 pick in your fantasy drafts. Probably closer to round 5 or even round 6 if we're talking non-PPR, but not somebody that we can expect to take that breakout step like A.J. Brown, like Tyreek Hill, like all these other wide receivers that changed teams, got with a new quarterback, and then hit sky highs, okay? He's not going to be the next Stephon Diggs. Now, if you agree with that, hey, that's great. Say so. It'll make me feel better about myself at the very least. And it'll make other fantasy managers say, oh, okay, there's a lot of people that agree with Dave. But if you disagree, I want to hear the case why. And that's what the YouTube comments are for. That's what my Twitter is for. You can send me a note at Dave Richard on Twitter or even leave a comment right here in the video. I'll get back to you. I want to hear the case for DJ Moore. What makes him a top 15 talent in fantasy? What makes him a top 30 pick? Lay it on me. I want to hear it.